transition and let's begin in the NBA as the Oklahoma City Thunder beat the LA Clippers 101-100. Unfortunately for the Clippers, Paul George, he left the game in the fourth quarter after an apparent right leg injury. The following day, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, he announced and said that Paul George will be out 2 to 3 weeks and will be reevaluated at that time. So, when it comes to the LA Clippers and their championship aspirations, let me be very, very clear about how I feel about the Clippers and whether or not they are a championship contender without Paul George. The answer is an emphatic no. The LA Clippers without Paul George are not championship contenders because they don't have enough to be able to beat those other contenders who have their stars healthy. I look at the Denver Nuggets. They got the Joker. They got Jamal Murray. I look at the Memphis Grizzlies. They now have back Ja Morant. And the Lakers are going to get back LeBron James with Anthony Davis with the Lakers. The Phoenix Suns are going to get back Kevin Durant with Devin Booker. Also, the Dallas Mavericks have Kyrie Irving. They have Luka Doncic. And when you're in a tough Western Conference and you don't have the second best player on your team, you're not a championship contender in the tough Western Conference. And this year, the Western Conference, top to bottom, is the best conference in the NBA, significantly over the Eastern Conference. It's not even close. Because right now, I can't put my money on any team in the Western Conference to represent the West in the NBA Finals this year. Because we got injuries to Kevin Durant. We got injuries to LeBron James. And now we got an injury to Paul George. I don't know who's going to represent the Western Conference in the NBA Finals this season. But what I do know is if you don't have a healthy Kawhi Leonard or a healthy Paul George, the Clippers' championship aspirations are officially over. It's just that simple. And the numbers back it up. This season, the Clippers, with both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the floor, the Clippers are 24-14. They average 116 points per game. The point differential when they win games is plus 3.9, and they average 24.2 assists per game. That's with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers are 14-21. They only average 109 points per game. Point differential is minus 3.7, and they only average 22.3 as far as assists. So they are a significant worse basketball team without Paul George or without Kawhi Leonard. And at the trading deadline, they traded away Reggie Jackson, and I thought that was a bad move. I thought at the time that was a bad move. And honestly, I feel like if you have an injury to Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, you could afford one of them to miss some time if you have a premier scorer in Reggie Jackson still on your team. And remember a few years ago when the Clippers made the Western Conference Finals that season when Kawhi Leonard didn't play and they lost to the Phoenix Suns in 6 games? That season in the Western Conference Finals, Paul George and Reggie Jackson were both playing at a high level. It was some games where it wasn't Paul George closing for the LA Clippers. It was Reggie Jackson. So at the trading deadline, I felt like the Clippers were one of the losers at the trading deadline because they traded away Reggie Jackson. And I still believe Reggie Jackson can be a key contributor on a championship contender. And that trio with Reggie Jackson, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard, I believe they were more than capable at being able to win a championship at some point if they all stayed healthy. But if you lose a Kawhi Leonard, if you lose a Paul George, if you have a Reggie Jackson to fall back on as your second star on your team, I believe you can still have some success. But now look at this team now. Without Paul George, who's the second best player on this Clippers team after Kawhi Leonard? Russell Westbrook is out of his prime. You know, Eric Gordon, he's a nice guard off the bench, but he's also past his best days. Robert Covington, I mean, these other players are role players on the Clippers basketball team. Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington, Eric Gordon, some nights can give you 25 on a good night. He could give you 25 on a bad night. He can give you maybe 15. But Terrence Mann, these other players on the Clippers basketball team, they are role players. So I just don't know if they have enough to be able to overcome Paul George being out for a significant amount of time, considering the fact that the rest of their team, besides Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, are role players. Norman Powell, he actually was having a good season before his injury that he's been dealing with. And this year, Norman Powell, he's averaging 17 points per game, 48% shooting from the floor. They said he's going to be back at some point. He can help, but they're going to need some significant production out of Norman Powell and Eric Gordon and Russell Westbrook as well if they want to be able to compete in the tough Western Conference. And you look at the Clippers right now, and their remaining schedule is tough. I'm looking at their schedule right now. The last few games of the season, they are they play the Pelicans tomorrow night. They're in Los Angeles. That's a home game. They are home against the Bulls on Monday night. They got to win those two games if they want to stay in the playoff race. And then Wednesday, they're at Memphis. They're at Memphis again on Friday next week. Those two games are potential losses for the LA Clippers without Paul George. Wednesday, March 29th, and Friday, March 31st, two back-to-back games in Memphis. Those are two potential losses for the Clippers. And then April 1st, they're at New Orleans. They can beat the Pelicans without Paul George. And then they're home against the Lakers. They always beat the Lakers. But that's a game where LeBron James may be returning back from his recent injury that he's been dealing with. And then they're home against the Blazers. They can beat the Blazers without Paul George. And then they're at Phoenix April 9th to close out the season. So the rest of their games are against teams who are fighting to remain in the playoff picture. That's the one issue that I have right now with the Clippers. They are not going up against teams who are not playing for anything. So losing Paul George could really, really be the end of the Paul George and Kawhi Leonard era in Los Angeles. Because when this is a dynamic duo, similar to LeBron James and Anthony Davis, similar to Jason Tatum and a Jaylen Brown, they have championship expectations in Los Angeles when it comes to the Clippers. Steve Ballmer, the owner for the Clippers, when he put together this roster, he expected the Clippers to compete for an NBA championship. And say what you want about the Lakers and them not being able to beat the Clippers, because in the Kawhi Leonard era and the LeBron James era with the Lakers, the Clippers have beaten the Lakers pretty much every time they've played against each other. But the one thing that LeBron James and Anthony Davis has going for them that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard doesn't is the fact that they won an NBA championship. Yes, it was in the bubble, and yes, it was a few years ago, but at least LeBron and Anthony Davis have delivered for the Lakers fans, and that's something that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have not done for Clippers fans. Hell, the Clippers haven't even been to an NBA Finals. Not one time in their franchise history. And this latest injury to Paul George really, really hurts their championship aspirations significantly. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys.